Welcome to the Purpose Chasers podcast, where those who refuse to let odds or naysayers stand in their way come to chase and catch their true calling. I'm your host, Mark Crandall. In each episode, we shine a spotlight on artists and musicians who dare to dream bigger. You'll hear the real-world tactical moves these Purpose Chasers have taken to carve out their legacies, and I'll break down the marketing strategies you can swipe and implement today. Let's dive in and start chasing our purpose. Don't forget to leave a follow on Spotify or wherever you stream from. Let's dive into this episode.
Welcome back, everyone, to this episode of the Purpose Chasers podcast. I have not in a while. It's been a while since I've had a guest who originally interviewed me on the podcast. And I have Scott Kujak here today, and he interviewed me on his podcast. And it was one of the coolest interviews that I had done. And I'm super excited to have him here. And Scott is the host of the Underdog podcast, and he just launched a book based off of his podcast. And Scott, I just got to call a spade, bro, and just throw this out there. I am actually, I'm about to launch my second book, but my third book is going to be called Purpose Chasers. And
nice.
I just wanted to acknowledge you real quick before we get into this interview and let you know that I'm about to drop a Purpose Chasers book. So, Scott, thank you for coming on. And I want to get right into it with my guest. I want you to share how you came to start this podcast. I know that you're, a massive fan of the Underdog, and, you and I have talked quite extensively about how we're both underdogs. Like, how did you come to do that? And we'll get into what keeps you doing it. But I'm just curious, at what point, what shifted, what happened to get you to where you are right now?
Yeah, great question. And that's actually probably something that a lot of people don't know about. And when I had the opportunity to interview you, we talked about your journey and how you overcame the things that you did. And for anybody that wants to go back and listen, that was episode 43. Mark shares his entire journey of all the stuff that he's overcome and what he's doing now to apply the things that he's learned in his past, both the good and the bad, to better himself moving forward and help other people. For me personally, I started Underdog due to my good friend, Phil Taylor. I played football with him at Texas Christian University in Fort Worth. I was a quarterback. He was a wide receiver. So we had quite the bond, did a lot of route running together, a lot of workouts, and then a lot of extracurricular activities outside of the football field. And what happened was I was going through the worst time of my life a few years ago at 23 years old. And I was living in Southern California at the time, getting trained at my company's world headquarters before I got launched into the field and relocated to Austin, Texas. He came out to visit some of his family members that were in Southern California, and he also came to visit me. And he helped me a lot through that time. We had some deep conversations, and he started complaining of abdominal pain. And he was never, ever one to complain. And he continued to complain about it. Not complain, but just bring it up. Man, this is really, really bothering me. And he went back to Texas. And a few weeks later, he was told by doctors that he was diagnosed with stage 3 colon cancer. 23 years old, a former Division I athlete, doesn't smoke, doesn't drink, was in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, no family history, and he got the diagnosis of a 55-year-old man who has a long lineage of colon cancers. He never wavered in his faith in God, and his optimism and positivity grew each and every day as he underwent radiation, as he underwent chemo, as he went through multiple surgeries. His faith continued to grow. That really spoke a lot to me in my life, because at the time I was going through the worst time of my life. I was going through a divorce that was highly unwanted, and it was completely one-sided. And there's a lot more factors that went into that, which we won't necessarily get into. But my response to adversity was often much different than his. So I looked to him as a role model. That's the reason why I wanted to interview him. That's the reason why I have this idea to interview all types of people that have overcome adversity. And he's actually the last chapter in my book that I just published a few weeks ago. He's chapter 10, and he passed away in September. So this book is in honor of him.
Awesome. And yeah, for those of you who are interested in the book, it's going to be in the description to this podcast episode. So if you're listening to it and you want to go find his book, look at the description, which is oftentimes not an area that I look at when I'm listening to a podcast. So
Yeah.
only if there's something that I want to go back and get. So I want to dive in a little bit, Scott, and you said you may not go into it. And if there are pieces of the dark times that you don't want to share, like completely understand, just share what you will. Like, what did that look like for you?
You talk about the divorce?
Yeah. You stated like at 23, you were in like the darkest period of your life.
Yeah. I was really just depressed at that time and kind of I was caught off guard, received a call at work one day. She was out, came home, she was gone, and we just really never communicated after that again. So I tried the best I could to try to put things back together. It didn't work out. And it was just a really, really tough transition for me in my life to overcome that and reshape my thinking moving forward. How am I going to become a better person because of this? How am I going to put the past behind me and move forward day by day?
Yeah. And that, I mean, I just got goosebumps when you said that, right? Because I would love to hear, and I know a lot of individuals in my audience would love to hear, like, what was the process of rebuilding your mindset? Because you made it sound so nonchalant and easy. And for those,
No, it definitely wasn't.
Individuals like us that live with a mindset that's like an unstoppable mindset, it's like, oh yeah, that's going to happen. It becomes easy for us because we start to see the actions unfold that we believe that we're going to accomplish. But when you're in it, it's not easy, right? So what were the steps that you took? Like, how did you go from, and I know the place that you were in, right? Of like just feeling worthless, feeling like it's all over, when I went, when I've gone through dark periods, it looked like playing a lot of Xbox and doing a lot of things that take my mind off of the world around me.
Yeah. So I definitely don't want to downplay the fact that it was really tough. And it wasn't just tough for a couple of weeks. It was tough for months, for a year. I mean, it took a long time. And what helped me get through it, even in the worst days when I was crying or broken or whatever, is constantly praying, reading books, whether it was reading my Bible or reading other types of books, getting involved with people and getting outside. So going to play beach volleyball, going to the beach, hanging out with friends, going out to eat at nice restaurants, just trying to do anything I could to take my mind off of it and enjoy the good things that were in my life. Because oftentimes, I'm sure as you know, Mark, when things go south and things turn sour, it's very, very easy to focus on that. It's very, very easy to focus on the immediate pain at hand rather than look at all the other good and all the other blessings that you have in your life surrounding you. And that was the challenge for me, trying to do that every single day moving forward, is that there is good that's coming around the corner. Right now, it's not very good. Quite frankly, it sucks. But I know that there's good in store, and there's going to be some type of good that comes out of it, even if I don't see it right now.
Yeah, I mean, let's just call it what it is, right? It's easy to fall into the trap of playing the victim, right? And the woe is me, all of this stuff happened to me. And it's so powerful to hear, what you shared about your friend and how he had every reason in the world to play the victim.
Exactly. And he never did.
He got sympathy cards. He could have got balloons. He got all that stuff anyways, I'm sure. But he could have easily, and it's so easy in our society to play the victim because, you could, you share your stories, Scott, and it's easy for me to go, oh man, oh man, I can't imagine. Wow. I can't believe you went through that. Or when I tell people that I was handcuffed and locked in a closet or burned with cigarettes or, oh, Mark, that should have never happened to you. It shouldn't have, but it did. And it made me who I am today. So let's get into the good because
there's a lot of good.
Yeah, there's a lot of good. So let's get into it. So how did you go from a depressed man who was doing whatever he could to divert his attention from his actual reality, from playing, you know, the victim mentality, which is so easy to get caught in, but not comfortable for men like our, you know, individuals like ourselves. It's just not comfortable.
Yeah.
We know that we're doing it at some point, and it's just not okay. How'd you go from there, Scott, to hosting the podcast, writing this book, but more importantly, and I don't know, I'm going to share this because I know the work that it takes, although I never achieved it, I stopped before I did, to being the 2-time defending Golden Gloves heavyweight boxing champ of Austin. Like, I know the mindset, and for those of you who don't know, like, Texas is a large state, so I can imagine that the boxing pool is pretty good out here. You know, the individuals that, you know, we were going up against when I was training, where they were coming out of Charlestown, you know, out of, you know, where Mickey came from. But how did you go? I mean, how did you go from there, where you were, to that, Scott? Like, how did you, first, I guess I just want to get into it. Like, how did you get to the gym and start hitting mitts and hitting the bag?
Yep. I'm glad you actually tied in the boxing piece of it, because I was going to touch upon that regardless if you brought it up or not. And I think with the Underdog platform, with what I'm trying to create and inspire others, is regaining that fighting spirit. Life knocks you down on your ass sometimes, but I want to help people get back up and fight the good fight. So for me, getting back in the gym, getting back in training, well, getting in the gym was never really an issue, but the mental perseverance was an issue of feeling confident in myself, feeling that I have the ability to accomplish whatever I want to put forward. Boxing is a sport I just picked up within the past year and a half. So what drew me to boxing was
dude, stop it. Just stop for a second. So a year and a half, and you just launched out and won Golden Gloves.
Yes. Yeah.
After how long of training?
So in 2018 when I won, I probably had been doing it 6 or 7 months.
Yeah, and for those of you who are listening who don't know anything about martial arts, like I really can't explain it to you unless you have some experience. But the way that I'm going to explain it's not easy.
Not easy.
Like,
at all.
You're going up against the best of the best. It's like, I'm trying to think of like an analogy that I can make. And I really can't. I mean, I don't know another way. Like, you're going up against the best of the best individuals. Like, so when Scott says he won after 6 or 7 months, he was in the ring with individuals that have probably been training since they were like 6, 7. You know what I mean? This isn't like, these aren't individuals that like just picked up boxing 6 or 7 months ago when Scott did, and then all of a sudden decided to jump in the ring and they were going to fight it out to see who was the best rookie fighter of all time. Like, he's going up against the elite. I just wanted to highlight that for my listeners who don't understand. Like, it's a massive feat that you did that. And when I read that, and I mean, I knew that you boxed and I knew that you won Golden Gloves, but I had no clue that you won after training for 6 or 7 months. So let's talk about I just wanted to highlight that. I wanted to toot your horn, if you will. You deserve it.
Thank you.
But that's it's just a massive feat. Like, it's absolutely unheard of. I've never heard of anyone doing that before. I know of individuals that have been training for 5 or 6 years in my old gym that, you know, went to Golden Gloves and got knocked out the first round. So,
yep. And that can happen. And right now I'm training for the state championship, which is coming up in a few weeks in Fort Worth. I'll get a chance to fight fighters from Houston, Dallas, El Paso, wherever in Texas they're coming from. You're right in mentioning that Texas is a very large boxing state. Since we do border Mexico, Texas has a huge, huge presence of boxing. I would say Texas, California, and New York probably are the best boxing states in the United States. And I've been fortunate enough to win Austin the last couple of years, and now I'm getting ready for hopefully getting a state title. In terms of sparring or fighting the best of the best, you definitely have your different levels of competition. I wouldn't say there's an overwhelming, tremendous amount of boxers in Austin per se, but I've traveled all over to fight. I was actually in Dallas in December at a gym, and I got a chance to spar a few different individuals. One of them being, are you familiar with Deontay Wilder?
I've heard the name.
He's the defending heavyweight champion of the world. He just fought Tyson Fury in December, and it was a draw. I sparred his sparring partner, who is a 17-0 undefeated heavyweight professional, and he just got back from Wilder's fight camp back in Dallas, or it was in Alabama, but he just got back to Dallas, and I got a chance to spar him. In no way, shape, or form did I win, did I beat him, but I held my ground, and it gave me more confidence going into Golden Gloves here or going into the state tournament, that if I can hang with a 17-0 heavyweight professional who happens to be the heavyweight champion of the world sparring partner, I feel confident going in. Like I can hang with just about anybody. And that's the mindset that I try to have whenever I fight, is that, hey, I'm going to go in and give my best effort. I feel confident, but I'm not cocky. There's a big difference between the two.
So I want to talk about, there is a big difference between the two. There's a difference between ego and arrogance. And I don't think that ego is a bad thing. I think my ego allows me to know that I'm as good as Scott. Now, arrogance tells me that I'm better than him.
Yep.
Which you have to have an aspect of arrogance when you're going into a ring. So I want to ask you this, Scott. I know for a fact you've been rocked so hard that you questioned your entire life. And when I say rocked, guys, I'm talking he got punched in the head so hard that he was just contemplating his existence. Have you had that moment?
Yeah, I mean, I've definitely been rocked a few times. I've never been to the point where I've been dizzy or been knocked to the ground, but I've been back against the ropes and some guy is just eating me with combos everywhere. And it feels like you're getting smothered. You're getting smothered by a 250 pound blanket that you can't escape from. And in those moments, that's really the defining moment of yourself as a boxer, as an athlete. Can you wither the storm? Can you make it through the adversity you're facing right now? And can you find it not only from the physical stamina perspective, but the mental and emotional perspective to gain the strength to fight back? It's very, very difficult to do when you're getting punched in the mouth and you taste blood and it hurts. But can I fight back and get myself out of a corner and end up winning this fight or winning this round?
And that's why I do this podcast right here, where we're at right now. So you get rocked, you're in the corner, you're weathering the storm. At some point in this exchange, or beating, if you will, this exchange from your opponent, does your mind question whether or not you're going to win? Are you thinking, like, is he beating me right now? And how do you come back from that?
I think there's different points throughout the fight where you're telling yourself, hey, he's winning this point right here, or he just had a good combo, he'll get some points. And then there's also the flip side of, hey, I'm controlling the fight, I'm dominating. Whenever you get rocked, one of my coaches told me when I first started boxing, he said, when you get in the ring, don't be afraid to get hit. That's why you're in there. You're going to get hit. And honestly, now I've tried to take a view of embracing the hit. If you talk to any of my sparring partners, they'll tell you Scott actually probably enjoys it. He likes putting himself against the ropes and going like this and, egging the guy on to come hit him, because that's kind of what fires me up or fuels me up. Have you ever seen the movie Southpaw? Mm-hmm. You know how the harder he gets hit, the harder he fights? Mm-hmm. That's kind of my mindset. And that's not necessarily the best thing. And if I was a professional, I probably would not be doing that. But that's kind of my mindset, and it's helped me.
It's not a common mindset.
Yeah, it's definitely right? a different one.
It is a different one. And there's some great lessons to learn from this. And for those of you that are listening, you can easily make the comparison to, as it relates to your life and boxing. Right. So you call it, like, let's call it 9 rounds. So life is 9 rounds. And in those 9 rounds, you're going to get hit. But most people spend their entire life trying to avoid getting hit. And what I mean by that is we play it safe. I just got goosebumps in saying this, right? It's probably one of the most powerful things that's come up on my podcast. Like, we spend our whole lives avoiding getting hit, and as a result of that, we play small. So versus Scott, what you just shared is so powerful, man. So you don't avoid getting hit. You
No, I
walk in
embrace
the
it.
ring. You walk in the ring knowing you're going to get hit and say, bring it on, because that's going to wake me up. So for those of you who are listening, I just want you to reflect on that. Where in your life, even if you're not a boxer, you don't train in martial arts, where in your life are you avoiding getting hit right now? Like where in your life, because you're going to get hit. You want to play, you want to have a big life, like God, universe, like whatever it is you believe in. Like if you want to tap into some power and you want to really get tapped into your calling and live an epic life, a life of purpose, you're going to get punched in the mouth. And that's an analogy, right? You're going to get knocked down. But it's in the getting knocked down that I grow the most, climbing back to my feet. What's your experience with that, Scott?
Absolutely. And I would say that's exactly the mindset I had when I went through that dark time of my divorce. I got knocked down, I got trampled on, and I felt worthless. But getting back up helped me become a better man. It helped me widen my perspective on life and realize that there's still a lot of good left in the world and I can contribute to that good. In terms of boxing, Mike Tyson said, everybody has a plan until they get punched in the mouth. And that
I just want to pause real quick. I have that on a poster in my garage.
Yeah.
Right next to my Muay Thai bag.
One of my favorite quotes of all time, because it's not only applicable to me as a boxer or anybody who does martial arts, but it's applicable to everybody throughout life. Life is going to hit you in the mouth. My buddy Phil, when he got diagnosed with cancer, life hit him in the mouth. But how do you respond to it? Sometimes you can't necessarily respond by literally fighting back with fists and knees and elbows, but you have to fight back with your attitude. You have to fight back with your mentality that this is not going to defeat me. And you mentioned earlier about getting rocked. I just want to share two different stories with you about getting rocked, but two different scenarios.
Let me make a disclaimer for because I don't know if I just explained it. I may have before. So getting rocked is just like you get popped, like you get smoked, like you get hit hard. And in that moment, and I've been rocked, taken a knee before, and in that moment, you question your entire existence.
Yep.
And now go ahead, Scott. Now that I've explained it to the audience.
Yes. So two stories of me getting rocked. One is when I first started, I was doing a defensive drill with my friend Stefan. He's about 6 foot, 6'1", maybe about 255, 260. Big dude, big and stocky. Can hit like a hammer.
And can you just share with the audience that aren't watching this video on YouTube, like what are you?
I'm 6'4", 220. So I had a little bit more height on him, but he had a lot more weight.
Cool. All right.
And we were doing a defensive drill. So he was throwing on me and I was not throwing back. I was just working on shelling. I was working on slipping. I was working on ducking and trying to avoid his punches. And I told him to pick up the pace a little bit, like hit me a little harder. And I forget where I ducked, but he threw a right uppercut and popped me right in the nose. And for anyone that's watching, he hit me right here in my nose and pushed it straight up. And if you ever been rocked in the nose, Mark, that's often the worst spot to get hit rather than straight on because you're pushing all that cartilage up. Immediately, I felt that and blood just started gushing down my face. And I bounced off, took a couple steps away. I said, hold on, give me a second. I looked. He's like, oh, man, you good? You want to stop? And I said, no, keep the pace going. Let's go. And I finished the rest of the drill, even though that was really tough. And I was in a lot of pain in that moment. Second story is completely opposite end. I was fighting a smaller guy. He was a professional, but weighed less than me. And again, it was early on when I was still learning boxing and he was showing me some stuff. He rocked me so hard in the liver that I'll never forget it. And it made me question fighting this guy, even though he doesn't seem intimidating because I had maybe 40 pounds on him. He rocked me so hard in the liver. I was like, man, I don't know if I want to do this, but I kept going. And just so everybody knows, I would much rather be punched in the face than be punched in the liver like that ever again because that was horrible.
So what keeps you going? Like what is there a switch that you use? Like I have mantras that I use. I have reflections that I do. Like what keeps you going? What in that moment, what brings you back? What reminds you? What gets you back in the fight when you're knocked out? Or not knocked out like you're on the canvas, but you know what I'm saying? Like when you're questioning, do I really want to fight this guy? Do I really want to launch this book? Like, what are they going to think? Like all that stuff. Like what keeps you in the fight?
I definitely had those insecurities before I launched the podcast and before I launched the book. I think it's that underdog fighting mentality that I keep harping on is whenever I'm going through doubt or insecurities or getting rocked in the face, should I continue on? Hey, I'm going to write this book. Should I actually publish it, or will people think I'm stupid for doing so? I literally relate back to my buddy Phil and think he didn't have a choice. He had to fight the cancer, and he did it the best way that he knew how. If he can fight cancer and fight it for 2 years with a grin on his face, I can do whatever is before me. And really my mission now is I want to change people's lives, but I want to do it by loving on others. I think that's what Christ calls us to do, is to love on everybody as well as we can here on earth. And if I can wake up every day and impact one person's life today in Austin, Texas, because I had a chance just to love with them, whether it's having a 5-minute conversation with them or giving them something to eat on the side of the road or talking to a long lost family member I haven't talked to in a while, and that's the difference for me. And that's what I believe makes me successful, which gives me purpose. That's why I chase that purpose.
I've never had anyone define my show in their life before on this podcast, but Scott just did. Scott just did.
Drop the mic.
Yeah, mic drop. Scott, what else are you up to? What do I not know about? Like, how else are you chasing purpose? What else are you up to doing? What are you doing? Where are you moving?
Yeah, so just launched the book. That's taken a lot of my time. For my career, I'm in medical device sales, so that takes a lot of my time as well. But really now what I'm trying to do is set up things in order to build wealth and build that passive income, which I know you're a big fan of. We have a lot of friends that really harp on that, is to become financially free. And for me, it's not really the idea is not to make a ton of money, even though that would be nice. I just want to change a ton of lives. And I know that through something such as the book, I can make money and change lives. Same thing with the podcast. And then eventually that can lead into other endeavors, whether it's getting real estate or opening up different businesses, opening up different nonprofits, because I have ambitions and ideas for that I want to collaborate with different people. So we'll see how all of that happens. One of the cool things about the podcast is that I interview a lot of people who have their own businesses, but a lot of them have their own nonprofits. So I'd really love to have enough financial resources and enough financial security to be able to not just donate to those people and their organizations, but actually go hands in deep with them and go to the streets or go to different countries and assist with them in their volunteer work or in their missions as well.
Yeah, every successful entrepreneur has a mission behind them, right? And so I just look at some of the, and I'm not going to name drop, but some of the individuals that I look up to that are in business, they have callings, if you will. They have ways in which they donate their time and they donate their money. And you shared something that a lot of individuals that I know that are in my sphere that I've interviewed, they just don't understand. And the more money that I make, right, the louder I can become, right? And so you shared something that's very true to my heart. And, I have family members that are like, wow, you're like super successful. Like, you're doing all these amazing things. It must be nice to be rich. And I'm like, I'm not rich. Like I don't spend money on myself. Like, you don't get like, yeah, my wife and I are doing okay. Like we're doing good. Like their child is coming, like going to be taken care of.
Yeah.
But like I reinvest everything that I have into larger impact, into a louder voice. And you and I were talking about it earlier, like, before we hit record, it's like, how do we get our podcast out there further? Like, how do we get our podcast into the ears of those who don't even know that they want to hear it? Yeah. Right. And so those are the things that keep me up at night, that keep me motivated and fired up. And, man, and it's just, we're in such a flooded industry, right? Where there are a lot of people that are trying to get rich, that want their podcast following to increase so that they can get more advertisers and make more money off their podcast. And I don't think that's a bad thing necessarily, right? But it's not about the money that you make. It's about how you make the money, really, that defines the man. And I think that's where we so closely align.
And we separate ourselves from the industry in that way. I know for me, I would love to monetize my podcast eventually, but I care about the impact. I care about changing the person that's listening. So I rarely check my statistics or my downloads for my podcast, which is rare in my industry. If you go on my podcast social media pages on Facebook or Instagram, I would probably bargain or bet that you won't find a picture of me on those platforms. I just want to make it all about my guests. So for me, I view money is great and you need it to do certain things in life here in the United States. But I view money as the more you get, the more it increases your opportunities to make an impact. It's not about having a fancy car. It's not about having a fancy house. It's not about this or that. To me, it's the more money I'm able to get, the more resources I have to make an impact. But on the flip side of that, one of the guys I interviewed for the podcast who's actually written about in chapter 5, he's my good buddy, Casey. He's an entrepreneur here in Austin as well. He was asked one time, he was in a mastermind group, and he said, man, I can't wait to make a bunch of money so I can make an impact. And one of the guys turned to him and said, what's stopping you from doing that right now? And that really hit home for him, because he realized then in that moment is I do not need a single dollar in my pocket to make a difference and to make an impact on someone. So what's stopping me from doing it right now? And that's what I try to live by as well.
Yeah, you don't need money to make an impact. And, let's get into this. We might as well. We're already here, Scott. So
all right, let's go.
I'm very, very selective of who I follow on social media, like the content that I'm consuming. And one of the main reasons is I drive a 2015 Subaru Impreza, like not a balling automobile, yeah. Right? Like I have things, but I'm not a things guy.
But think too, Mark, how awesome is it? You can change your perspective. Anyone can do this. And you can wake up every day and be thankful for that Subaru, because there are millions and millions and millions of people around the world that would love to have a car that has AC, or just love to have roads to be able to drive a car, because a lot of people live in villages and huts or mountains and it's hard to access. So it's just shifting your perspective. It's shifting your mentality that, whenever you compare yourself to the Joneses next door, you're never going to catch up. You never will. And you'll never be satisfied. But finding everything in your life that you can be thankful for and realizing how blessed you are, whether you're living in a village hut out in the middle of Africa somewhere, or you're at the biggest mansion in Austin, Texas on the lake, it doesn't make a difference. You can always be thankful for something.
Yeah. And you literally nailed the point that I was making in the fact that I don't follow certain individuals. I don't follow individuals that are gloating the material, that are shining in the material, that are like trying to get you to visualize what it's going to be like when I have a private jet, when I have all these things. Like those things are cool. I'm not going to be humble and be like, oh, that wouldn't be cool to have. It would increase my purpose. It would increase my impact, but like, that's not why I'm doing it. Like, that's not why I started this podcast. It's not why I wrote my first book. And in this process, yeah, my vision has become blurry from time to time. Mm-hmm. And it's in the identification that my vision became a little blurry that I can refocus in and remember, well, if one individual, one single person listens to Scott and I's podcast episode and they begin to fight and begin to live a life of purpose, my job's done.
Exactly.
Stop. You know what I mean? Like, we're not going to stop doing what it is that we do, but then this episode was worth it. If we impact one human being.
And how great is that? Think of it too, Mark, think if someone listens to your podcast or listens to my podcast, of any individual, and it really hits home with them somehow, some way. And they go on to pursue their goals or set new goals. In 10 years, they circle back and reach out to you over email, reach out to me over Instagram or whatever, and say, hey, that interview you did with X really impacted my life. And this is the result of what happened because of it, because of the message I took from it. And now I've been able to raise a family better. I've been able to accomplish my real estate goals. I've been able to serve on a mission trip to Africa, and I've been able to impact people. And I never would have been able to do that without your message, without your podcast. To me, that is so much more cash in the bank than $1 million or $2 million. I would so much rather have one of those stories than $50 million checks.
Yeah. And it's just, I just continue. We were talking about it, and we're not going to get into it on this episode, but we were talking about it a little bit before the show started, you know, and I just constantly give visualizations of who I don't want to become. And I'm so grateful for every opportunity that I get to be presented with who I'm not trying to become or where I'm not trying to go. And I hope and I pray and I just really try to stay present to what it is that we're doing. And so, you know, when you go, and I wish I could get it on my calendar to go watch you fight, and please, and we're going to talk after this and get together. Anyways, because we live in Austin and we've been supposed to. And I'll just throw it out on the podcast. I've canceled on Scott for one reason or another. The last time was a doctor's appointment that my wife had, but so we've missed. And then after having this podcast episode, I'm like, I can't believe like we didn't do this sooner, but it's right on time because he just launched his book, and it's just amazing. But it's just knowing that when you get in the ring in Texas, right, and you go to the state championship, if your focus is about the one individual or the dozen individuals that are going to watch you, then it changes everything. When I can stay with a mindset of I'm not doing this for me, so many amazing things open up. When I'm doing things from the mindset of like what I'm going to get out of this, like what am I going to get from this interview with Scott? Like who can Scott connect me to? Where will Scott lead me? This interview would have been crap. But like my only focus in this interview is to pull out, you know, Scott's message and highlight the mindset that took him from where he was to winning Golden Gloves at 6 or 7 months of training, which is a massive feat. Granted, he's like downplayed it as the pool and, you know, Austin's not that great. He still went up against some good boxers. I don't care. I haven't been to any matches in Austin, but I guarantee you got in the ring with some individuals that have been training a heck of a lot longer than you had.
Yeah, for sure.
So, man, Scott, I want to. I don't want to water this interview down, man. We're gonna end this, and I am beyond grateful for this episode. This is literally, I'm gonna go out on a limb and state it. I would say top 3 episodes that I've recorded.
Hey, all right.
And two of them haven't released yet. And I also want to point out that this is Scott's first podcast interview. He's interviewed a ton of people. And if you're listening, and I know that there are, I have some friends that have podcasts that are listening, please schedule this, man. This story needs to get out there. I'm actually going to make some introductions for Scott when we get done, you know, when we get done this episode. But what an amazing story, man. And your buddy Phil, that's his name, correct?
Yep, Phil.
I just want to make sure I didn't botch his name or fuck that. Your buddy Phil, I mean, what an impact. My endeavor or calling was raised up after, you know, a friend of mine died by suicide. And, you know, that's when I started to contemplate, what is it that I'm doing here?
Yep.
You know, and man, I like almost tear up every time I bring that up. I'm like, what am I doing here? And there's only one thing that scares me. And I know for my audience, you hear it all the time. There's only one fear that I have, and that's dying with regret. Only one fear I have is knowing that in this one life that I was granted, I didn't go all out. and that I didn't play full, and that I didn't try to touch, move, and inspire as many individuals as I possibly could on this earth, because that's why I'm here. Scott, where can individuals find your work? Drop it all. Drop all the plugs. It's going to be in the description with clickable links. If you're, if you go to Purpose Chasers Podcast on Facebook or Instagram, same thing, Purpose Chasers Podcast. Or if you're on iTunes or Google Play, or wherever you're streaming this, all these links are going to be there. But Scott, I want you to drop them.
Yeah, thank you, Mark. This was definitely a fun experience. I'm used to being on the other side and interviewing people, so this was definitely fun. I'll talk a little bit about the podcast itself and talk a little about the book as well. So for the podcast, it's called Underdog Podcast. You can go to www.underdogpc.com, PC as in podcast. And all the episodes are there. You can find it on iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, Google Play, SoundCloud, a bunch of other different platforms. And what I do is I release an episode once a week on Tuesdays. I try to focus on interviewing people who have overcome all different types of adversity. For instance, this week I released an episode with the first man with cerebral palsy to climb El Capitan in Yosemite National Park. He can't move his legs. He's in a wheelchair. So what he did is he created a stretcher and a pulley system. And over 6 days, without coming off the rock wall, he pulled himself up 2 to 6 inches at a time and did an equivalent of over 20,000 pull-ups in 6 days to reach the top. Crazy story. On the flip side, I have my book. You can also find out more information about the book at underdogpc.com. It's on Amazon, Barnes & Noble. There's a Kindle version. Just to give a broad overview of what the 10 chapters are. Chapter 1 is about a woman who was pregnant with her first child and got a disease and ended up losing 3 of her limbs and became blind, and how she overcame that. Episode 2 is with one of the top 1% Ironmen worldwide who overcame a lot of burn injuries when he was a child. Episode 3 is with one of the people whose mother was a victim of the Charleston church shootings by Dylan Roof a few years ago. Episode 4 is with an Air Force veteran who became the first female pilot to return to the sky as an amputee. Number 5 is with my buddy Casey I mentioned earlier, who's an entrepreneur here in Austin, and he overcame a terrible past of drug addiction and a criminal record. Really, really awesome story. Chapter 6 is with Drew Manning. He was the fit to fat to fit guy who gained a ton of weight on purpose and then lost it all on purpose. Chapter 7 is with your good friend, my good friend, Carolyn, who overcame abuse. And I know you just released an episode with her. She's a wonderful woman. Chapter 8 is with a doctor who travels all over the world to restore blindness to the poorest of poor, restore sight to people who are the poorest of poor who are blind. Chapter 9 is with a man who spent 25 years in prison for a crime he did not commit before that he was found innocent and exonerated. And then finally, with Chapter 10, it's my buddy Phil, who fought cancer for 2 years and passed away recently.
There you have it, folks. The play-by-play of the book. So go buy it. It is available. I have not purchased it yet, but Scott, I'm giving you my word that I am going to purchase a copy of that today because I want to read it.
Thank you, sir.
I don't read a lot of books. I do a lot of Audible, but I want to read this. I really do, because I'm an underdog, and I'm all about it. I'm all about your cause and what you're doing. There's a lot of people in the world that are underdogs and don't know that they're playing the victim and how they can break free of it, which is, I'm not going to plug my own book after Scott plugged his own, but you guys know the work that I'm up to. So I talk about it every week.
Yeah. If you guys want to get a hold of me, you can follow me on Instagram. At Scott Kujak 10, or you can find me on Facebook. Just the name Scott Kujak, or just reach out to me through the podcast. Either way, I'd love to connect with you guys. And if you guys have a recommendation of a cool story that you want me to bring on the show, let me know and I'll get them on the show.
Yeah. Everything he just said and more. So go check out his podcast, subscribe to it. And I want to give a disclaimer, and I do this from time to time. So when you subscribe to our podcasts, what you are doing is not doing something for us. You're doing it for the individual that doesn't know that they need to hear our message. So the subscribe is the way that they track the algorithms, and it's like a crazy, confusing system. So by you subscribing and by you leaving us a rating, hopefully 5 stars, it pushes our content out into eyes that don't even know that they want to hear it. So when you hear me ask for you to go to Scott's podcast, the Underdog podcast, and subscribe and leave him a rating, that's why. So that you can get into so his episodes can get into the ears of other underdogs that don't even know that there's a way out. So that's it. Enough about that. Get off the soapbox. Scott, so grateful to have you on, man. Thank you for this episode. This was just absolutely fantastic, bro. And so audience, help me wish him some luck, because he is in 2 weeks going to be the Texas state champion. So I'm pumped for you, brother.
Thank you, Mark. You got to come spar with me soon.
Yeah, right, dude. I am so out of it, dude. I would get rocked in that. I haven't trained in 6 years outside of my bag in my garage, which I don't go hard because no one's watching. So for those of you listening, I'm going to do this, and I changed it up. For those of you listening in the audience, I'm going to ask Scott to leave you with one challenge for this week. So Scott, every week at the end of every week that I release an episode of the podcast, I leave my listeners with a challenge. I want to ask you to drop a challenge, a weekly challenge for my listeners.
I love that you do that. And I'm going to make a challenge that's a daily challenge, not a weekly challenge, if that's okay. So I actually just started this with my girlfriend a couple weeks ago. And it goes back to what we just talked about being thankful. We can be thankful for anything. So whenever we wake up and she calls me on the way to work because she lives in Dallas, we get on the phone, and the first thing we say is one thing that we're thankful for today. It can be anything. It can be the sunshine. It can be a car. It can be a job. It can be a friendship. And that's why I challenge you guys is to wake up every day, and before you do anything else, before you take a shower, say out loud with one sentence, 2 sentences, one thing that you are thankful for that is different than what you were thankful for yesterday. It'll change your whole perspective for the entire day.
There you have it. An attitude of gratitude. I do it every day. I actually do 5 things, not just one, but start small, guys and gals. Scott, final piece from you. You could leave one message with the world. What is it? Go.
That's a good question. How do I want to phrase this? I know I want to say, how do I phrase it? One message with the world is love God with your entire heart and love on others as much as you can, whether they deserve it or not.
Nailed it. Scott, thank you so much for coming on, brother. And I look forward to continuing our relationship. And for those of you listening, go practice that. For 7 days, the challenge is to identify your gratitude. And if you look deep, you're going to find it. Scott, I'll talk to you soon, brother.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mark.
That's a wrap on this episode of the Purpose Chasers podcast. If you're ready to take action, don't wait. Head over to thepurposechasers.com to access notes, resources, and a host of other tools to keep you moving forward. And if you want to supercharge your digital presence, visit scaletosaleconsulting.com to partner up with my team and amplify your impact. Let's turn your purpose into your biggest asset. Until next time, keep chasing, keep creating. Your purpose awaits.